So we decided to change sceneries here, guys, because why not? And I don't know how audible I am from this distance, but I don't want to sound like a maniac, and it's currently raining, so I might put this hoodie on. But before we start this video, I just wanted to show this view. Bro, now that's something people wake up for every day just to be able to witness. Mm. I dig those type of views, man. I grew up this type of views every day. So I don't know if the people down there could hear me. There are people who are playing soccer in the field right now, and at the time of making this video, I believe I haven't uploaded the third part of my campus vlog. I'm still working on that because I'm editing. I'm currently taking my time with it because I really want to make it as quality as possible and not just some heavy breathing ASMR mixed with walking. And it's barely a tour, so I thought I'd really take my time with that video. Okay, so anyways, today's video is more or less can be described by this one statement that goes, every decision we make we will regret. And I'd like to actually word that better because this was from a close friend of mine, not really as close as my other friends, since I just met this guy like last month, but he said something along the lines of, we regret every decision we make. And in hindsight, it does seem like a very flawed statement. I believe immediately at this point, as soon as you hear that or you heard that, you can come up with so many counter arguments. But upon thinking about it further, like at 3 a.m. before I sleep, every decision we make, do we actually regret it to some extent? And I believe you can come up with some exceptions to that, like baby being born or saving a life. But it's somewhat related to the paradox of choice, where the more options we're given, the less satisfied we are with the choice we make because we are aware of the potential other options we're forfeiting. And I think to some extent it is related to that statement. Sorry, it feels like the rain is becoming stronger. So I'm at a place right now where it's kind of unsettling, especially for me who's indecisive as the Philippine political realm or something. I don't know what I was going for there, but whatever. I've done some thinking lately, and I've rooted that I tend to rely on other people for the things that I do, and I've been soul read before with this. Ah, Homer, that's the type of guy who can't really make decisions for himself, and I've tried to prove that guy wrong. That every shot I make, usually it comes from the inner voices in my head and from within my heart, and it should be aligned with my values and all that cliche. But upon reflection and looking back onto my childhood and how I grew up, it does seem like that I have an addiction for instruction, in the sense that I need, emphasis on need, I need people to tell me what to do. And I think I've rooted this with the fact that I don't want to carry that responsibility of choice. And it is quite conflicting and paradoxical that I claim to be a control freak, and yet I fear the responsibility of control. It's, I'd like to put it in the sense, in the context of chess, for example. The reason why chess is one of the most stressful and disheartening games ever invented, and why I loathe it to the core, even though I'm very good at it, is that when you mess up, when you make a blunder, when you make a mistake, there's really no one else you could blame aside from yourself. It's just you, your opponent. Yes, you can blame it on the clock, you can blame it on the time pressure, you can blame it on some guy coughing at the background, but in the end of the day, The shots you make, it's all on you. And I never really thought about my fear in that regard, that when I am put in a situation where I can make a choice, I wanted so that I have a safety net in the case that that choice will end up being a decision I will regret somewhere in the future. Something I can blame, something I can point fingers to, something I can somewhat justify, because if there's something I'm very good at, it's justifying the unjustifiable. And I'm not talking about horrendous acts or whatever, but in the sense of stupidity. Like I said, self-awareness does not excuse incompetence. Doesn't mean I know what I am doing. Doesn't mean I am fully aware that what I am doing could be illogical, irrational, inefficient, and still do it anyway, and have it so that when someone calls me out, I can say that, oh, I know what I'm doing, and I know it's stupid, but that does not excuse my decision in committing to that act. Man, the rain is really getting worse. But yeah, at this point, that close friend that I mentioned a while ago made this huge point about being an irregular student in college, and this happens to challenge my liking for instruction, because being irregular means going against the crowd, and when you go against the crowd, you're not going with the flock, and when you're not going with the flock, you're deciding for yourself basically. And he said that he's doing it because he finds the current curriculum to be very suboptimal per se, or inefficient, because they've compressed computer science into 3 years from what should have been 4 years. And even though I'd like to disagree, he does make very good points. It does make sense to structure the learning experience or the learning journey in this entire college thing into a more suitable manner, in which that it fits your learning style and circumstances better. But that would mean to follow your own belief that that the curriculum you made for yourself, the blocks, the units you chose, and the decision in itself to go irregular is something you won't regret in the end. And that basically I can make the choice for myself, and that scares me. And I've rooted that in the fact that for my entire life I've been practically hardwired to follow what other people tell me to do, even though I have this illusion of choice that I am doing things for my own sake. But in fact, I've been desperate. Yeah, that I'm not really fond of that word desperate, but I am desperate for someone to tell me what to do, because I am afraid of making a choice for myself, because I know how bad or how painful the feeling of regret can be, especially when it comes to potential choices. And I know I've made it a rule back then that I shouldn't really be sharing insecurities without any good reason, but I guess this is just one of those videos na, especially with this aesthetic that it's raining. It's a gloomy day, but I love this day. I love these type of weather. This type of weather, rather. So I thought it would be a fitting topic na, do we actually regret every decision we make to some extent? And go. I've heard this quote, not really a quote, but I can paraphrase it in the sense na, do something, not do something, people will always have something to say. And I know I shouldn't really be putting much emphasis on that, because what other people say doesn't really matter. But to me, I was practically nurtured or fostered in a sense to listen. Listen and you'll be given what you want. Listen and everything will be fine. You get this certain grade or average, will buy you that, for in the earlier days of mine. But I realized that type of thinking doesn't really apply, and if and is and could actually be worse. It's a worse. It's not an approach that I should be applying to literally my life right now. It works when you're a child, when it comes to parent-child dynamics. It's flawed, yes, but I can see why parents employ it because, well, it's a reward system. But I realize I shouldn't really be relying on what other people, yeah, in general. I know, it kind of sucks. So I guess that's something to ponder for today. My phone is getting soaked. But yeah, I guess that's it. It's a new scenery. Perhaps, Homer, you enjoyed this. I know you're probably one of the few people who will be looking back at this someday. So I guess that's it. Yeah, so here's one last view, guys. I cannot zoom. Oops. Yeah, so here's one last view, guys, before I end the video. Yeah. I guess it's thank you for spending time with me again. I'm not really sure how many people will be able to watch this. Perhaps I can blow up one day and they'll be using this as blackmail against me. But hey, we all start from somewhere, and these are my, I wouldn't necessarily say darker days, but these are the more confusing times of my life. And it's a huge pleasure to be able to document it like this, even though I shouldn't really be sharing much of my private life online. But hey, documentation. Yeah, cheers.